Honestly, people don't understand when you are used to doing everything by yourself, and since you are a child, you are born like that. You don't depend on people, you do everything by yourself, probably because it comes from you having trust issues, you being a control freak, but it's deeper than that. When you naturally are someone who walks alone, and people meet you in different phases of your life. So when you are independent and a lone wolf, so as to say, you become a victim of hate a lot. Either you'll have a lot of fake friends and fake family who will try to come up on your name, or secondly, they are the same people who hate on you because they think that you are way too independent and way too aloof, that you don't need them. So they'll always put you in situations where they are needed. And thirdly, people don't like you because they think you're too high and mighty. I don't think people really understand how difficult it is for you to ask for help when you are used to doing things alone by yourself. Of course, we live in a society where people want to read everything on face value, so you become the victim of people's hate, because the more you need yourself, the lesser you rely on people. And when you do not rely on people, you do not become needy. And when you're not needy, you do not fulfill their narcissistic need of being needed, strangers included. In my personal opinion, it goes down to you having extremely attentive guardians or parents, or you having completely detached parents and guardians in a nutshell. So when they are too focused on you, you're used to getting everything that was asked. And therefore, you rely on your parents so much so that you become overly pampered. You get everything you always wanted. So when you grow up and go into an environment where you're meant to stand alone, you make wrong friends, you make wrong enemies, you trust the wrong people, you get rejected a lot, you get played a lot, because when you are pampered and when you're given everything that you've always asked for, and when your parents were overly focused, you either become so needy as you grow up when you don't get that in your adulthood, that you trust anything and everything that gives you attention. So at the core of it, you may not accept it. It all roots from your need for attention, because you were brought up by people who gave you the attention that you always got. So you expected that naturally from people, until the world makes you feel like a reject, makes you feel used, because you are way too naive to expect that from everybody else. And so they call you clingy, attention seeker, needy, and stuff like that, until one day you grow up and become so independent that you see through the bullshit, and then you don't ask for help at all from people. So you develop that innate to depend on yourself. On the other hand, when your parents are completely detached, you are already so used to relying on yourself. You again get into a track where you attract all the wrong friends and people. Because your parents are detached, you try to see that attachment, what you don't get at home, in other people. And when you don't get that from your own folks, people take you for granted. So they can give you breadcrumbs and you'll easily accept it. So irrespective of your parents being overly focused on you or being overly detached with you, it's a problem. Because at the end of the day, either you go out in the world expecting that attention from everybody else, so you become a chaser naturally. You become somebody who's extremely needy. And if you come from a detached household, you either become extremely needy and a chaser for attention because you're constantly seeking that in other people you meet, or you completely detach yourself and you've never asked for help. And you've never been able to ask for help because you've always been rejected. So people need to understand that not everybody is cold-hearted and a bitch man or woman who can't ask for help. You don't know people's history and they're brought up. See. So one of the biggest disrespect that we can do to ourselves who cannot ask for help is apologizing for not being able to ask for help. People should understand that not everybody is what they come on face value, and if people are so quick to judge you just because you keep to yourself when it comes to getting some things done, and that can be your close family members, your close friends even, who play the victim when you act like you do not need them. It's not like you're acting, you actually do not need them to do it. It does not mean that you love them less. But in situations like this, you can really see who is around you for you and who is around you to fulfill and boost their own ego, because they always want you to need them. And these people will not think twice before putting you in situations where you have to need them. And that means jeopardizing you, jeopardizing your work, and everything you've built for yourself, or you're trying to build, and where you're trying to go. So as an individual, it's easy for you to do things for you. So firstly, stop apologizing, and secondly, it's okay to ask for help too if you trust this person. And do not feel vulnerable after you ask for help, because many of us struggle with the fact of putting ourselves out there. When we do get some help from people, we either profusely thank them that they have done something huge for us, and that comes from a place of not being able to rely on people for a very long time. Like I said, it was always like that for you if you come from a detached home, and if you come from a place where you were completely involved with your parents and your family, and they were too. There'll come a point in your life where your trust is completely shattered and broken, so you have to adapt just relying on yourself. And you had to develop just relying on yourself, because that hurt, that rejection, that betrayal was so hard for you that you either started to live with it like it was second nature to you to just be by yourself and do everything by yourself, and you're okay with people leaving your life because you're naturally a very detached person. But when you're attached, you're not malicious. When you're attached, you don't bleed onto other people. You're not somebody, in a way, you make them go through what you went through, and you do not play the victim just because you had an overly attached or detached parent, and that's why your need for attention is so high or low is your problem and you own it. But you do not make anybody else suffer because you went through stuff. And that is one difference between you and people who misunderstand you. And how do they misunderstand you? They think you're too high and mighty. They are so insecure with your presence because you not needing them, and you're somebody who is not even looking their way for help. And that is their sense of insecurity within themselves of not feeling enough. And when they do not feel enough, when everybody else makes them feel like they are the queen bee, they are the kings of the kings, you are over here with yourself, and even if you're struggling, you would rather do it by yourself than depend on them, how much ever close or detached they may be to you. Like I said, these can be strangers even, who are so self-entitled to their ego. They want to come off as, oh, I'm just here to help you, and I'm just telling you firsthand because I care about you if they know you. But you still don't with them like that. They don't like it, and they start to hate you. And God forbid, if this is somebody that you've known all your life, or a fucking stranger who once used to know you, they will go back to the past where you used to be extremely needy and where you used to crave for their attention. And now you don't, and this can be 5 minutes ago. They can't take that, because how dare you become so self-assured suddenly when they completely disregard everything about your past and what you went through, what must have happened, and why you're now so self-reliant. So instead of sitting and getting to know you and trying to understand as to what happened with this person, or why is this person so self-reliant? Yes, many people are self-reliant because they're happy with self, and not everybody has to be scared to trust. But if you're self-reliant, that means you love yourself. Think about it. The world doesn't revolve around them. People have things in their life, and you are an individual of your own. And what is inbuilt in you of how detached you can be. And they don't know that. They don't even consider that, because they think just because they know you for a couple of months or years, they know everything about you. And you're going to sit here and explain yourself to them? No. And when you don't do that, that is when the gossips start. That is when the hate trail begins on you. And the more you sense that, you get detached. People like us don't get involved in this gossip shit because we've always been by ourselves. Even if there was a phase where we were completely needy for however long it may be, life had to teach us lessons and make us understand that not everybody will have the same intention towards us. And once in a while you get attached to that one or two people, and if they backstab you, you then don't trust people easily. And being alone by ourselves when we go through situations and life lessons like this, who are actually good people and who think deeply, for them self-love comes naturally. For them, being by yourselves comes naturally. And why it comes naturally, you ask, is because when you constantly have to heal yourself through situations like this that breaks your trust, when you are seeking that type of attachment, or when you don't even expect anybody to get attached to you, it's a different kind of a feeling. And not many will understand. But unfortunately, we live in a world where people don't go within, where people don't understand as to where those wounds come from. Because the fact that somebody is insecure about the fact that you don't need them comes from their innate insecurity. But you are somebody who went within to understand that, to heal that, and now you're out of your healing journey. And those are the people I'm talking to, who are now self-reliant, not within bitter taste in your mouth, but also that you don't expect people to come through for you in a way you once expected them to put themselves before you. Now you put yourself first, and therefore you rely on yourself, and if help arrives. And the only thing you need to teach yourself is you don't go berserk with your thank yous. People help you like you help them, and it's okay to ask and accept the help and not feel weak about it, because I've been there and it's weird, but it is a feeling that we can understand. But people outside will judge you. People outside will judge you for the fact that you're self-reliant. But unfortunately, people's brains are wired that way, that they need to be felt needed to give you some kind of respect. And when you're completely independent, people want to have the audacity to talk about you because they can't or couldn't tame you without even understanding who are you. How much have they known about you? How much have you shared about you to these people? You must have shared everything about you on face value, but on a deep level, you didn't want to share everything with this friend of yours who claims to know everything about you, this lover, this stranger who is actually weaving stories about you to be relevant. It's unfortunately the independent ones. It's unfortunately the lone wolf, the loners as they say, who are always talked about. And unfortunately, till date, there are so many people with tainted characters and bad reputation just because they're not the ones to run their mouth and go after every gossip monger. But in reality, always remember, in any argument, in any relationship, in any stranger's mouth that carries your name, it'll usually be the one who couldn't get you. In any argument, anybody who runs their mouth first is the one who is the problem. And why? Because they would rather screw your reputation, kill your name, and spread your name in a bad way. Because if they can ruin your character, your reputation among people you knew and you don't know, it's easier for them to make people believe them as they're the victim. Because when you start speaking your truth, the victim, who's actually the abuser, would have already told them, I told you so. So don't go out there being apologetic about depending on yourself, but also don't be jaded. And I'm talking to those people who are assertive, who still have love in their heart, and you still love the exact same. You're still the person that you once were, but now you pick, choose, and refuse people who don't deserve your love, who deserve your attention, and who deserve a second look. And if that makes you bougie, if that makes you all the fake things that these people are used to, let them call you names. Who cares? Because they once had you, but they had you only to break you, betray you, put you down. And that's when you understood who is to be trusted. And that's when you understood that you're no longer putting yourself second. When you stop doing that, people start to hate you.